Hey everyone, in this video we're going to make this portrait on Procreate, and I will be showing you my whole process from start to finish and the steps involved. So I start with a circle, and the tilt of the head is being indicated by the guidelines that are inside the circle. In this case, the person that I'm drawing is kind of looking downwards and her head is tilted towards the right. And people have various methods to work in the sketch. So some people use the Loomis method, some people use the grid method, some people even use like spaces that they see on the reference and use that as a guideline, which is something that I kind of developed with time. And this is kind of debatable, but I don't personally think that you need to learn anatomy to that extent, or even Loomis method, to be able to sketch faces and make them look believable. Some people even say that grid method is cheating, but I don't think so. Grid method is something that you can use to speed up the workflow and speed up the process, so you get there quicker. So you get from point A to point B in lesser time, which is really helpful if you're doing client work or have deadlines. But again, being able to sketch faces freehand, it's definitely a beneficial skill to have, because you're learning to see and observe things. So yeah, do learn that if you want to get better. I start the sketching phase at a point where I think that the drawing has a certain amount of likeness to the person that I'm drawing, and then I choose another layer and start to put down the base layer of the skin. And again, just don't get intimidated by the 1,000 colors that you see on the skin. Just get started somewhere, throw the dot, and have the closest color that you can think of, which resembles the skin color of the portrait of the person that you're drawing. So whatever helps you out with that, like squinting your eyes or even in color picking, for example, just do that, because you're not going to take the accurate guess, and the base color is just going to be the average of whatever you're seeing in the start. With skin, a lot of people get intimidated, especially if you're a beginner, because you want to make the right decisions, which is not really something that happens when you're starting out. You squint your eyes, you see the average value, and even if you're off by like maybe 40%, that's all right in my eyes, because again, it's going to be a comparative analysis where you're going to change the colors that you have already put down on the canvas before. So yeah, just get started, just take your best stab and just get started. And I honestly use the same kind of mentality when I'm painting basically anything. So you can see that the hair is a little bit red. It's so off. I kind of chose a really off color in the starting because I really wanted to show how it's going to get covered up later. But again, I use the same kind of workflow whenever I'm painting eyelashes or when I'm painting hair or whatever, which is I choose the color that I think denotes the average value of what I'm seeing, and then I just put it down, and then I don't really worry about it. If I've taken my best guess at the first step, then I don't really have to worry about it, because if it is the best guess, then I just have to do comparative analysis with what I'm seeing and then keep on changing what I put down on the canvas, if that makes sense. So as you can see, lips are really not that color, and I'm way off. It's like maybe 20 to 25% resemblance to what I'm actually seeing. But again, I don't really worry about it. It's not something you need to worry about too, because that's going to change later on. If you're observant and you're well, you can say just responding to each change at each point, then it's going to work out. So let's see, when I'm painting this flower, I see a lot of greens, dark greens, oranges, reds. But do I worry about it on the base layer? I don't worry about it at all. I just put down the yellows. And that's so because when I squint my eyes, yellow is the most dominant color that I see in that part of the reference. And I can change it later on. I don't really need to worry about it. I also recommend that you zoom out, and if you're painting on a canvas, on an actual canvas, then you just take a few steps away and then you look at it from a distance, because then you can easily kind of figure out which base colors and which colors are on an average being used. So I often zoom out of my canvas and compare that color scheme, color composition to the reference. And when I am kind of happy with the way I've laid down my colors, then I can kind of tighten it up and move in towards the details. So I didn't really worry about the eyelashes or the eyebrows or the details on the flower before. And I also have a time constraint, so I really need to focus on the details later on and focus on the big picture stuff in the first few hours. So only when I'm happy with the way I've laid down my initial colors, then I can move in and tighten it up. So like I said before, I'm focusing on the highlights, I'm focusing on the flyaway hair, and then I'm changing colors which I see I've put down on the canvas, which don't really relate to the ones that I'm seeing on the reference that I'm using. And the last thing that I would like to say is that just try this kind of workflow where you're focusing on the big picture stuff and then tightening up your portraits or whatever paintings you're making. And also have a time constraint, like put down some time constraint like 5 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. You can even make color studies in like 45 minutes or an hour. I just think that portraits are more difficult, so I usually now spend more time because I really am moving towards some stylistic stuff, so I need to make sure that the works look finished. So yeah, if you're not having a time constraint, then you can just spend hours and hours on one piece, and you probably might not even like it when you're like 50 hours in. So yeah, I think I would just call it at this point, and hope you got to learn something out of this video, and I will see you in the next one.